That meditative voyager, in order to advance farther in the infinite degrees and countless luminous stages of knowledge of God, then wished to enter the world of men, the realm of humanity. Humanity, headed by the prophets, invited him, and he accepted the invitation. Looking first at the stopping place of the past, he saw that all of the prophets' peace and blessings be upon him, the most luminous and perfect of humankind, were reciting in chorus, "Woe God but he," and making remembrance of God. With the power of their brilliant, well-attested and innumerable miracles, they were proclaiming God's unity, and in order to advance man from the animal state to angelic degree, they were instructing men and summoning them to belief in God. Kneeling down in that school of light, he too paid heed to the lesson. He saw that in the hand of each of those teachers, the most exalted and renowned of all celebrated human beings, there were numerous miracles, bestowed on them by the Creator of all being as a sign confirming their mission. Further, a large group of men, a whole community, had confirmed their claims and come to belief at their hands. A truth assented to and confirmed by these hundreds of thousands of serious and veracious individuals, unanimously and in full agreement, was bound to be firm and definitive. He understood, too, that the people of misguidance, in denying a truth attested and affirmed by so many veracious witnesses, were committing a most grievous error, indeed crime, and were therefore deserving of a most grievous punishment. He recognized, by contrast, those who assented to the truth and believed in it, as being the most true and righteous, and a further degree of the sanctity of belief became apparent to him. Yes, the infinite miracles bestowed by God on the prophets, peace be upon them, each one being like a confirmation of their mission, the heavenly blows dealt to their opponents, each being like a proof of their truthfulness, their individual perfections, each one being like an indication of their righteousness, their veracious teachings, the strength of their faith, a witness to their honesty, their supreme seriousness and readiness to self-sacrifice, the sacred books and pages held by their hands, their countless pupils who through following their paths attain truth, perfection and light, thus proving again the truthfulness of the teachings, the unanimous agreement of the prophets, those most earnest warners, and their followers in all positive matters, their concord, mutual support and affinity, all of this constitutes so powerful a proof that no power on earth can confront it, and no doubt or hesitation can survive it. Our traveler understood further that inclusion of belief in all the prophets, peace be upon them, among the pillars of belief, represents another great source of strength. Thus he derived great benefit of faith from their lessons, in expression of which we said in the 8th degree of the first station. There is no God but God, to the necessity of whose existence in unity points the unanimity of all the prophets, through the power of their luminous miracles, that both affirm and are affirmed. That questing traveler, having derived a lofty taste of truth from the power of belief, found himself invited, while coming from the assembly of the prophets, peace be upon them, to the classroom of those profound, original, exacting scholars who affirm the claims of the prophets, peace be upon them, with the most decisive and powerful proofs, and who are known as the purified and most veracious ones. Entering their classroom, he saw thousands of geniuses and hundreds of thousands of exact and exalted scholars proving all the affirmative matters connected with faith, headed by the necessity of God's existence and his unity, with such profound demonstrations as to leave not the least room for doubt. Indeed, the fact that they are agreed in the principles and pillars of belief, despite their differences in capacity and outlook, and that each of them relies on a firm and certitudinous proof, is in itself such evidence that it can be doubted only if it is possible for a similar number of intelligent and perspicuous men to arrive at a single result. Otherwise, the only way for the denier to oppose them is to display his ignorance, his utter ignorance, and his obstinacy with respect to negative matters that admit neither of denial nor affirmation. He will in effect be closing his eyes, but the one who closes his eyes is able to turn day into night only for himself. The traveler learned that the lights emitted in this vast and magnificent classroom by these respected and profound scholars had been illumining half of the globe for more than 1,000 years. He found in it moral and spiritual force that the combined strength of all the people of denial would be unable to shake or destroy. In brief allusion to the lesson learned by the traveler in this classroom, we said in the 9th degree of the first station, There is no God but God, to whose necessary existence in unity points the agreement of all of the purified scholars, with the power of their resplendent, certain and unanimous proofs. Our contemplative traveler came forth from the classroom, ardently desiring to see the lights that are to be observed in the continuous strengthening and development of faith, and in advancing from the degree of the knowledge of certainty to that of the vision of certainty. He then found himself summoned by thousands or millions of spiritual guides who were striving toward the truth and attaining the vision of certainty in the shade of the highway of Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, and the ascension of Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. This they were doing in a meeting place, a hospice, a place of remembrance and preceptorship, that was abundantly luminous and vast as a plain, being formed from the merging of countless small hospices and convents. Upon entering, he found that those spiritual guides, people of unveiling and wondrous deeds, were unanimously proclaiming, "There is no God but He." On the basis of their witnessing and unveiling of the unseen and the wondrous deeds they had been enabled to perform, they were proclaiming the necessary existence and unity of God. The traveler observed how manifest and clear must be a truth to which unanimously subscribe these sacred geniuses and luminous Gnostics. For, like the sun is known through the 7 colors in its light, the saints' luminous colors, their light-filled hues, their true paths and right ways and veracious courses are manifested from the light of the pre-eternal sun through 70 colors, indeed, through colors to the number of the divine names, and are all different. He saw that the unanimity of the prophets and the agreement of the purified scholars and accord of the saints forms a supreme consensus, more brilliant than the daylight that demonstrates the existence of the sun. In brief allusion to the benefit derived by our traveler from the Sufi hospice, we said in the 10th degree of the first station, "There is no God but God, to whose necessary existence in unity points the unanimity of the saints in their manifest, well affirmed and attested divinations of the truth and wondrous deeds." Now our traveler through the world, aware that the most important and greatest of all human perfections, indeed the very source and origin of all such perfections, is the love of God that arises from belief in God and the knowledge of God, wished with all of his powers, outer and inner, to advance still farther in the strengthening of his faith and the development of his knowledge. He therefore raised his head and gazing at the heavens said to himself, "The most precious thing in the universe is life, all things are made subordinate to life. The most precious of all living beings is the animate, and the most precious of the animate is the conscious. Each century and each year, the globe is engaged in emptying and refilling itself, in order to augment this most precious substance. It follows, then, without doubt, that the magnificent and ornate heavens must have appropriate people and inhabitants, possessing life, spirit and consciousness, for events relating to seeing and speaking with the angels, such as the appearance of Gabriel peace be upon him in the presence of Muhammad peace and blessings be upon him and in the view of the companions, have been transmitted and related from the most ancient times. Would, then, that I could converse with the inhabitants of the heavens, and learn their thoughts on this matter. For their words concerning the Creator of the cosmos are the most important." As he was thus thinking to himself, he suddenly heard a heavenly voice. "If you wish to meet us and hearken to our lesson, then know that before all others we have believed in the articles of faith brought by means of us to the prophets, headed by the Prophet Muhammad peace and blessings be upon him, who brought the Quran of miraculous exposition. Then too all of the pure spirits from among us that have appeared before men have, unanimously and without exception, borne witness to the necessary existence, the unity, and the sacred attributes of the Creator of this cosmos, and proclaimed this with one accord. The affinity and mutual correspondence of these countless proclamations is a guide for you as bright as the sun." Thus the traveler's light of faith shone, and rose from the earth to the heavens. In brief allusion to the lesson learned by the traveler from the angels, we said in the 11th degree of the first station, "There is no God but God, to whose necessary existence in unity points the unanimity of the angels that appear to human gaze, and who speak to the elect among men, with their mutually corresponding and conforming messages."